"We can't keep Lily anymore," Mrs. Henderson tells Mrs. Williams. She refuses to participate in any family activities. Lily sits politely watching the Henderson family pack her belongings, saying nothing, showing no emotion. During the ride back to the agency, Lily stares quietly out the window without complaint. Back at the agency, Lily sits with perfect posture, hands folded, politely waiting. 5 years of trying, Rachel tells David. Maybe adoption is our answer to prayer. Rachel and David walk into the agency, ready to start their adoption journey. "There's one child who needs a family," Mrs. Williams says, "but she's been returned 3 times. Rachel looks at Lily's photo and feels an immediate connection to this beautiful little girl. "We want to meet her," Rachel says without hesitation. Every child deserves a loving family. Lily waits in the playroom, sitting perfectly still with good posture and polite composure. Rachel and David enter the playroom as Lily looks up with a polite smile. "Hello, Lily. I'm Rachel, and this is David," she says warmly. "Nice to meet you," Lily responds properly. Lily answers their questions with perfect manners, but offers no personal information or warmth. Despite Rachel's genuine warmth, Lily maintains polite but emotional distance throughout their conversation. "We'd like to move forward with adopting Lily," David tells Mrs. Williams after their meeting. Mrs. Williams explains the paperwork process while walking them to the exit. "She's hurting," Rachel tells David, "but I can see the sweet girl underneath those walls." A week later, Lily walks politely with the Thompsons to their car for her first visit. Rachel helps Lily into the back seat, speaking gently about their home and family plans. As they drive away from the agency, Lily quietly whispers, "You're going to send me back too, aren't you? Where are you watching from today?" Drop a comment and hit that like button for more heartwarming stories. Mrs. Williams opens Lily's thick file with a heavy sigh, preparing to share the difficult truth about this little girl's pattern of failed placements. "I need to be completely honest about why 3 families couldn't handle Lily Martinez. She's not aggressive, violent, or destructive. Those behaviors would actually be much easier to address through traditional therapeutic methods and consistent discipline. The real problem is far more complex and heartbreaking than simple behavioral issues. Lily has developed a sophisticated psychological defense mechanism where she systematically sabotages every relationship the moment families begin showing genuine affection or treating her like their real daughter rather than a temporary guest. Let me give you concrete examples from each placement so you understand the pattern." Mrs. Williams continues, spreading detailed reports and photographs across her cluttered desk. "The Johnson family bought Lily a beautiful pink bicycle with streamers and a bell for her 7th birthday celebration. She thanked them with perfect manners and appropriate gratitude, then deliberately never touched that bike again despite their repeated invitations to ride together. When they tried to include her in family bike rides, camping trips, or even simple movie nights, she would suddenly develop mysterious stomach aches, remember urgent homework assignments, or find other creative excuses to avoid any meaningful bonding opportunities that might lead to emotional attachment. So she's not being deliberately difficult or defiant," David says slowly, understanding beginning to dawn as they drive through their quiet, tree-lined neighborhood toward home. "She's protecting herself from experiencing another devastating abandonment by maintaining emotional distance." Rachel nods, her heart breaking for this traumatized little girl who has learned through painful experience that love always ends in rejection and disappointment. If she never allows anyone to get genuinely close to her heart, she never has to experience the excruciating pain of being unwanted and sent away again. She's built psychological walls around her emotions that seem almost impossible to penetrate. Moving day arrives with little fanfare, excitement, or celebration. Just another routine transition for a child who has learned not to hope too much. Lily sits perfectly motionless in the sterile agency lobby with her meager belongings. Everything she owns in the entire world carefully packed into one small, well-worn suitcase that has accompanied her to 3 different homes and back again. She's dressed in her cleanest outfit with her dark curly hair combed to perfection, sitting with the practiced patience and resignation of a child who has performed this heartbreaking routine far too many times. When she sees Rachel and David approaching with warm smiles, she immediately stands with military-like precision and perfect posture. "Are you ready to see your new home, sweetheart?" Rachel asks with genuine warmth and excitement, hoping desperately to break through even a small crack in Lily's carefully constructed emotional barriers. "Yes, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am." Lily responds with flawless politeness and perfect grammar, but her voice carries absolutely no emotion, excitement, or childlike curiosity about this major life change. She methodically places her battered suitcase on the seat beside her with precise care, buckles her seatbelt with mechanical efficiency, and sits rigidly upright during the entire 20-minute drive, small hands folded perfectly in her lap like a miniature adult attending a formal business meeting rather than an 8-year-old child moving to a new family. The Thompson house stands before them like something from a family magazine, a charming 2-story home with carefully tended flower gardens, freshly painted white picket fence, and a handmade tire swing hanging invitingly from the massive oak tree in the front yard. David spent 3 weekends building that swing set in the backyard, hoping you might enjoy playing on it. Rachel mentions with hopeful enthusiasm, pointing toward the fenced area where a complete playground setup awaits. "That's very thoughtful of you both. Thank you." Lily responds with robotic politeness and perfect manners, but shows absolutely no curiosity, excitement, or interest in exploring this wonderful new environment that has been prepared specifically for her arrival and happiness. Inside the warm, inviting house, Lily walks through each beautifully decorated room with perfect posture and military bearing, hands clasped formally behind her back like a visiting government official conducting an inspection rather than a child exploring her new home for the first time. She responds to every enthusiastic comment about the house features with precise, "Yes, ma'am," and "No, sir" responses, maintaining careful emotional distance, even while receiving the complete guided tour of what Rachel and David hope will become her permanent family home. Rachel opens the bedroom door with barely contained excitement to reveal Lily's new room. Painted in soft lavender walls with white trim, featuring a comfortable twin bed with fluffy purple comforter, matching curtains, a child-sized desk perfect for homework, built-in bookshelves filled with age-appropriate novels and picture books, art supplies organized in colorful containers, and stuffed animals arranged welcomingly on the window seat. "We spent weeks planning every detail because we wanted this room to feel like home from the very first day," Rachel explains with genuine love and anticipation. "It's very nice. Thank you, ma'am." Lily responds politely but without any emotional reaction whatsoever. Lily enters the lovingly prepared bedroom and immediately places her small suitcase in the corner with mechanical precision, then stands perfectly still with arms at her sides like a soldier awaiting orders. Rachel enthusiastically points out each special feature: the cozy reading nook with soft cushions by the window, the art easel ready for creative projects, the music box that plays gentle lullabies, and the beautiful dollhouse that David assembled piece by piece. Lily nods politely at each item, but makes absolutely no move to touch, explore, or interact with any of the carefully chosen gifts that were selected specifically to bring joy to a little girl's life. Later that evening, after dinner and bedtime routines, Rachel quietly observes Lily's room from the hallway and feels her heart sink with the devastating realization that something is terribly wrong. Despite spending hours in her new bedroom, Lily hasn't touched a single item they prepared with such love and care. The stuffed animals remain exactly where they were placed. The art supplies sit untouched in their containers. The books haven't been opened, and even the beautiful dollhouse stands pristine and unexplored. Lily sits on the edge of her bed in her pajamas, hands folded, looking like a temporary visitor rather than a child settling into her own special space. Rachel enters Lily's room the next morning expecting to find a sleepy child, but discovers her already fully dressed with the bed, made so perfectly it looks like no one slept in it. Every corner is tucked with military precision, every pillow positioned exactly, as if Lily spent the night ensuring she left no trace of her presence. The room is spotless, not a single item out of place, no evidence that a child actually lives here. "Good morning, sweetheart," Rachel says gently. "Yes, ma'am, good morning," Lily responds politely, standing at attention beside the bed like she's waiting for inspection. Her overnight bag remains packed and positioned exactly where she placed it yesterday, suggesting she hasn't truly moved in but is simply visiting. At breakfast, Lily takes impossibly small bites of her pancakes, eating only about a quarter of what's served while maintaining perfect table manners. She sits rigidly upright, places her napkin precisely on her lap, and responds to David's friendly questions with minimal politeness. "How did you sleep, Lily?" "Fine, thank you, sir. Would you like more juice?" "No, thank you, sir, this is plenty." She finishes her small portion, places her fork exactly parallel to her knife, and sits perfectly still waiting for permission to be excused. Rachel notices that Lily seems to be deliberately eating as little as possible, as if trying to prove she won't be expensive to feed or cause any inconvenience to their household budget. In the living room, Lily perches on the very edge of the couch cushion, ankles crossed, hands folded like she's attending a formal meeting rather than relaxing in a family home. Rachel tries to engage her in getting-to-know-you conversation, asking about favorite foods, colors, or activities. "What do you like to do for fun, sweetie?" "Whatever you think is appropriate, ma'am." "Do you have a favorite book?" "I like whatever books you choose for me, ma'am." Every attempt to learn about Lily's personality or preferences is met with responses that reveal nothing about who she really is. She's systematically erasing her own identity, making herself as generic and forgettable as possible to avoid standing out or making waves that might lead to rejection. Throughout the morning, Lily compulsively straightens items that are already perfectly organized, adjusting magazine corners to precise 90-degree angles, ensuring all shoes are aligned exactly, smoothing couch cushions that show no wrinkles. She moves through the house like a tiny housekeeper, constantly tidying spaces that don't need tidying. When Rachel gently suggests she doesn't need to clean, Lily responds with quiet anxiety. "I want to be helpful, ma'am. Good guests don't make messes." The word guests hits Rachel like a physical blow. This child sees herself as a temporary visitor rather than a family member, someone who must earn her keep through perfect behavior and constant usefulness to avoid being asked to leave. David attempts to connect with Lily by showing her the swing set he built, explaining each feature with genuine enthusiasm and pride. "I made this tire swing extra strong, so you can swing as high as you want," he says warmly. But Lily stands several feet away, hands clasped behind her back, responding with mechanical politeness. "It's very nice, sir. Thank you for your hard work." When he encourages her to try it, she shakes her head respectfully. "I don't want to wear it out, sir." David's face shows growing frustration as every attempt to connect with this child is met with the same impenetrable wall of distant courtesy. He built this playground specifically for her joy, but she treats it like museum displays she's forbidden touch. At lunch, David watches Lily take tiny bites of her sandwich, leaving most of it untouched while claiming to be satisfied. His patience begins wearing thin as he realizes every meal follows the same pattern: excessive politeness combined with minimal participation. "Lily, you barely ate anything. Are you sure you're not hungry?" "I'm fine, sir, thank you." "But you've only had 3 bites." "I don't eat very much, sir. I don't want to be wasteful." David's frustration becomes visible as he struggles to understand how to connect with a child who seems determined to need nothing, want nothing, and be nothing more than a polite ghost in their home. David's frustration reaches a breaking point as he watches Lily sit alone in the corner chair, declining every invitation to join family activities. She won't play with anything, won't eat properly, won't let us get close to her, he whispers to Rachel. It's like living with a polite robot instead of child. Rachel tries to soothe his concerns, explaining that Lily needs time and patience, but David struggles with the emotional rejection. "I've tried everything, games, stories, showing her the workshop. She just says, 'Yes, sir,' 'No, sir,' and keeps her distance. How can we be a family if she won't let us in?" His voice carries the hurt of someone whose genuine efforts at love are being systematically rebuffed by a traumatized child's survival mechanisms. While preparing dinner, Rachel gently tells Lily to relax and be a kid, but Lily insists on helping with compulsive determination. Please let me set the table, ma'am. I want to be useful. She arranges each plate, fork, and napkin with mathematical precision, creating a restaurant-quality table setting that looks more formal than familial. When Rachel tries to show appreciation by suggesting Lily has done enough, she becomes visibly anxious. Did I do something wrong, ma'am? I can fix it. Rachel realizes that Lily has learned to equate her worth with her usefulness, believing that the moment she stops being helpful, she'll become expendable and face another rejection. As they finish cleaning up after dinner, Rachel absent-mindedly reaches over to turn on the small kitchen radio for some background music while they work. The moment the first notes of a gentle country song fill the air, Lily's entire body goes rigid with shock and terror. Her face drains of all color, her hands begin trembling uncontrollably, and she drops the dish towel she was holding. The polite, composed mask she's worn for days completely shatters as raw panic floods her features. "Turn it off. Please turn it off," she whispers, backing away from the radio like it's a dangerous weapon that might hurt her. Before Rachel can even process what's happening or reach for the radio dial, Lily bolts from the kitchen with desperate terror, running through the living room toward the front door like she's fleeing from a fire. "Lily, wait." Rachel calls out in alarm, but the traumatized child is already yanking open the front door and disappearing into the evening darkness. Rachel stands frozen in shock, the cheerful music still playing in the background, realizing that something about that innocent song has triggered a devastating emotional response that sent this fragile little girl running away from the only safe home she's known in 2 years. Rachel runs through the darkening neighborhood streets, her heart pounding with terror as she calls Lily's name into the growing shadows. "Lily, Lily, please come back." She checks behind bushes, playground equipment, and parked cars, her voice becoming increasingly desperate with each passing minute. The thought of this traumatized 8-year-old wandering alone in the darkness fills her with maternal panic she's never experienced before. Other neighbors begin emerging from their homes, drawn by her frantic calls, offering to help search for the missing child. Rachel's mind races with worst-case scenarios while she tries to think like a frightened little girl. Where would Lily go when overwhelmed by emotions she can't understand or control? After 20 minutes of searching, Rachel finally spots a small figure huddled underneath the wooden platform of the neighborhood playground's climbing structure. Lily sits in the dirt with her knees pulled up to her chest, arms wrapped around herself, quietly sobbing with the kind of deep, soul-crushing tears that come from years of accumulated pain rather than this single incident. Rachel approaches slowly and carefully, not wanting to startle the already terrified child. "Lily, sweetheart, I found you," she says in the gentlest voice possible, crouching down to make herself less threatening. "I'm so glad you're safe. I was worried about you." For the first time since arriving at their home, Lily is showing genuine emotion instead of her carefully constructed politeness. Rachel sits quietly in the dirt beside Lily, not trying to force conversation or physical comfort, simply offering her presence as the traumatized child continues to cry. "The music," Lily finally whispers between sobs, "it hurts too much. It makes me remember things I don't want to remember." This is the first time Lily has voluntarily shared anything personal about her feelings or her past, and Rachel recognizes the significance of this breakthrough moment. "Can you tell me what the music reminds you of, sweetheart?" Rachel asks gently, careful not to push too hard, but hoping to finally understand what triggered such an intense reaction that sent Lily fleeing into the night like she was running from physical danger. For several long minutes, Lily sits in silence, seemingly wrestling with whether to trust Rachel with the painful memories that music awakens in her damaged heart. Finally, she begins to speak in a small, broken voice. "My mama and daddy loved music. We used to sing together in the car, and daddy would play his guitar after dinner." Her voice trembles with the effort of sharing these precious but painful memories. "They said I had a pretty voice. We were going to sing at church together. Rachel feels her own eyes filling with tears as she realizes that music isn't just a painful reminder of loss for Lily. It represents the complete destruction of dreams, family traditions, and a future that was stolen from her when her parents died. Music was our special thing. Lily continues, her voice growing stronger as she shares these sacred memories for the first time since the accident. Mama said I was going to be a beautiful singer someday. She taught me harmonies, and Daddy showed me how to clap rhythms. Rachel listens with her full attention, understanding that this moment represents a crucial breakthrough in their relationship. When I hear music now, it feels like they're calling to me from somewhere I can't reach them. It hurts so much that I can't breathe. For the first time, Rachel sees the real Lily underneath all the polite distance. A little girl whose heart was shattered when music, the thing that connected her most deeply to her parents' love, became a source of unbearable pain. I know it hurts, sweetheart, Rachel says softly, her own voice thick with emotion as she witnesses this child's raw pain. Music was how you connected with your parents' love, wasn't it? Lily nods, wiping her tears with the back of her small hand. Every song reminds me that they're gone forever and I'll never sing with them again. Rachel's heart breaks as she realizes the depth of loss this little girl carries. Not just the death of her parents, but the death of her identity as their musical daughter. I promise we won't force you to listen to music until you're ready, Rachel says gently. We can put away all the radios and CD players. Your healing is more important than our entertainment. Rachel moves closer to Lily, asking permission with her eyes before gently placing an arm around the trembling child's shoulders. Lily, I want you to know that David and I understand you're hurting. We're not going to pressure you to get better quickly or be someone you're not ready to be yet. She pauses, letting these crucial words sink into Lily's wounded heart. You can take all the time you need to heal. There's no timeline, no expectations. We're just grateful you trusted me enough to share something so personal and painful. This gentle acceptance represents something Lily has never experienced. Adults who don't demand emotional performance or quick recovery in exchange for their continued care and patience. For the first time since the conversation began, Lily leans slightly into Rachel's comforting embrace, her rigid self-control beginning to soften just a little. I don't know how to trust people anymore, she admits quietly. Every time I start to feel safe, something happens and I have to leave again. Rachel tightens her protective hold gently. I understand why trusting feels dangerous after everything you've been through. But David and I aren't going anywhere, and neither are you. This is your home now, for as long as you want it to be. She speaks with quiet conviction, hoping to plant seeds of security in soil that has known too much upheaval and abandonment. As the evening air grows cooler and streetlights begin flickering on around the neighborhood, Rachel gently suggests they head home, where David is probably worried sick about both of them. Will you walk back with me, sweetheart? We can take our time. Lily nods, standing up and brushing dirt from her clothes with the automatic precision that has become her trademark survival behavior. But as they begin walking slowly toward the house, she stays close to Rachel's side instead of maintaining her usual careful distance. Thank you for finding me, she says quietly. Thank you for not being angry that I ran away. Rachel squeezes her hand gently. I could never be angry at you for being scared, Lily. That's not your fault. As they near the Thompson house with its warm, welcoming lights glowing in the windows, Lily's steps begin to slow and her old anxiety starts creeping back into her voice. She looks up at Rachel with eyes that hold a mixture of hope and desperate fear. Mrs. Rachel, she says quietly, using the formal address that maintains emotional distance even after their breakthrough conversation. How long do I have before I do something wrong that makes you not want me anymore? The question hangs in the evening air like a physical weight, revealing that despite Rachel's promises and their moment of connection, Lily still believes that her eventual rejection is inevitable, and she's simply trying to calculate how much time she has left before she sabotages this placement like all the others. Later that evening, after Lily has been tucked into bed, Rachel and David sit in their living room processing the emotional revelations of the day. Did you hear what she asked me? Rachel says, her voice heavy with heartbreak. She wanted to know how long she has before she does something wrong that makes us not want her anymore. David, this little girl is walking around expecting us to reject her. She's not trying to be difficult. She's trying to control the inevitable by making it happen on her terms, instead of being surprised by abandonment again. David runs his hands through his hair, struggling to understand the psychological complexity of their situation. So when she acts distant and won't connect with us, she's actually protecting herself from getting hurt when we supposedly give up on her? Exactly, Rachel continues, her teacher training helping her recognize the educational and emotional patterns at work in Lily's behavior. Think about it from her perspective. 3 families have already proven to her that love is temporary and conditional. In her mind, it's not a matter of if we'll reject her, but when. So she's testing us constantly, pushing boundaries and sabotaging her own happiness to speed up the process and get the pain over with quickly instead of letting herself hope and then being devastated when we inevitably decide she's too much trouble. David shakes his head in amazement and sadness. That's why she won't touch anything in her room, why she barely eats, why she acts like a polite guest instead of our daughter. She's making sure she won't be too attached when we send her away. The next day, Rachel and David seek guidance from Pastor James at their church, explaining Lily's complex emotional situation and their own feelings of inadequacy in knowing how to help her heal. We love her already, Rachel explains, but she won't let us show it. Every gesture of affection, every attempt to make her feel like family, she deflects or ignores. It's like trying to love someone who's convinced that love doesn't exist or isn't meant for her. Pastor James listens thoughtfully, his years of counseling experience evident in his patient attention to their concerns. What you're describing sounds like a child who has learned that love comes with conditions and expiration dates. She's probably never experienced truly unconditional love, the kind that doesn't depend on her performance, behavior, or ability to be grateful. The challenge, Pastor James continues, is that unconditional love can't be proven with words or promises. It can only be demonstrated through consistent actions over time, especially when those actions continue even when the child is at her most difficult or rejecting. He leans forward, speaking with gentle authority born from years of helping families through crisis. Lily will test you in ways you can't imagine. She'll push every boundary, reject every kindness, and try to prove that you'll eventually give up on her just like everyone else has. Your job isn't to make her stop testing you. It's to keep passing the test by loving her anyway, even when she makes it seemingly impossible to do so. That's how she'll finally learn that some love doesn't have conditions attached to it. Back at home, David tries to implement Pastor James's advice by patiently attempting to connect with Lily during everyday moments. "How was your cereal this morning, Lily?" he asks gently. "It was fine, sir. Thank you," she responds with automatic politeness. "You know, you don't have to call me sir all the time. You can call me David or Dad or whatever feels comfortable." Lily's response reveals the depth of her emotional barriers. "I think sir is more appropriate for now, sir. I don't want to be presumptuous about my place here." David feels his heart break a little more as he realizes that even something as simple as what to call him has become a source of anxiety for this traumatized child who has learned not to assume she belongs anywhere. Rachel watches as Lily compulsively organizes and reorganizes items throughout the house, straightening magazines that are already perfectly aligned, adjusting picture frames by microscopic amounts, and ensuring that every surface remains spotless. "Lily, sweetheart, you don't need to clean constantly," Rachel says gently. "This is your home too. You're allowed to relax and just be a kid." But Lily's response reveals her deep-seated fear of being seen as a burden. "I want to be helpful, ma'am. I don't want you to think I'm lazy or ungrateful. Good children earn their keep and don't cause extra work for their families." Rachel realizes that Lily has internalized the belief that her value as a person depends entirely on her usefulness and perfect behavior, leaving no room for the normal messiness and neediness of childhood. During dinner, Lily's pattern of eating almost nothing continues to worry Rachel and David, who notice that she seems to be deliberately making herself as low maintenance as possible. Are you sure you're getting enough to eat, honey? Rachel asks with genuine concern. I'm fine. Mime. I don't eat very much, Lily responds, having finished only a few bites of her meal. Children your age need proper nutrition to grow healthy and strong, David adds gently. But Lily's response breaks their hearts. I don't want to cost too much money for food. I know kids are expensive, and I don't want to be more trouble than I'm worth. Rachel and David exchange alarmed looks as they realize that this 8-year-old child is literally trying to minimize her physical needs to avoid being seen as financially burdensome. During bedtime routine, Rachel tries to create normal mother-daughter bonding moments, but Lily maintains her careful emotional distance even during these intimate moments. Would you like me to read you a story tonight? Rachel offers hopefully. That's very kind, ma'am, but I can read to myself. I don't want to take up your time, Lily responds politely. Rachel sits on the edge of the bed anyway, speaking gently. Lily, spending time with you isn't a burden or an inconvenience. I would love to read to you because I enjoy being with you, not because I have to. But Lily's response shows how deeply her self-worth has been damaged. I understand, ma'am, but I think it's better if I don't get too used to special treatment. It makes it harder when things change. Outside Lily's bedroom, Rachel and David whisper about their growing understanding of the psychological damage they're dealing with and their own feelings of helplessness in knowing how to reach her. She's systematically preventing herself from experiencing any joy or comfort, Rachel says quietly. It's like she's punishing herself for wanting to be loved. David nods grimly. Pastor James was right. She's going to test us by making it as difficult as possible to love her. But how do we show unconditional love to someone who won't let us get close enough to demonstrate it? They both struggle with the emotional exhaustion of loving someone who seems determined to remain unloved, while understanding that this rejection isn't personal, but rather a desperate survival mechanism. The next morning, Rachel discovers something shocking that changes everything about their understanding of Lily's behavior patterns. While cleaning the kitchen, she finds a $20 bill hidden behind the coffee maker with a note written in Lily's careful handwriting. I took this money from your wallet. I'm sorry. I'm a thief, and you should send me back now before I steal more things. Rachel's hands tremble as she realizes this isn't actually theft. It's an elaborate test designed to give them a legitimate reason to reject her. She calls David over to see the note, and they both understand immediately that Lily has deliberately created a crisis to force the abandonment she believes is inevitable, choosing to control the timing and reason rather than waiting for them to find their own excuse to get rid of her. Rachel and David sit at the kitchen table with the $20 bill and Lily's confession note spread between them, while Lily sits rigidly in her chair, waiting for the inevitable explosion of anger and disappointment that will justify sending her away. Lily, Rachel says gently, holding up the note, we found this behind the coffee maker. Can you tell us what happened? Lily's small voice is steady with practiced resignation as she delivers what she believes will be her final performance in this home. I stole money from your wallet, ma'am. I know stealing is wrong, and I understand you can't keep a thief in your house. I'll pack my things and wait for Mrs. Williams to come get me. Her matter-of-fact delivery reveals that she has rehearsed this moment, preparing herself mentally for another transition while simultaneously creating the justification for her own removal. David and Rachel exchange a meaningful look, both recognizing this manufactured crisis for exactly what it is, a desperate test designed to prove that their love has limits and conditions that can be exceeded through bad behavior. Lily, David says calmly, can you show us exactly which wallet you took this money from and when you took it? Lily points toward Rachel's purse with complete confidence. From the brown wallet in your purse yesterday while you were cooking dinner, sir. But Rachel opens her wallet and counts the money inside, shaking her head with gentle understanding. Sweetheart, all my money is still here. Every dollar is accounted for. This $20 bill came from somewhere else. The confusion and panic that flash across Lily's face reveal that her carefully constructed test is falling apart because she hasn't actually committed the crime she's confessing to. Lily's small face crumples with confusion and growing desperation as her elaborate plan to force her own rejection begins unraveling before her eyes. "But I did steal it," she insists with increasing panic. "I'm a bad girl, and you can't trust me anymore. I'll steal more things if you keep me here." Rachel moves her chair closer to Lily's, speaking with infinite gentleness. "Honey, where did you really get this $20? After several long moments of internal struggle, Lily whispers the truth. "It was in my suitcase. It was mine from before from my other families. But I wanted you to think I stole it, so you'd have a good reason to send me away before you got tired of me." Her confession reveals the heartbreaking logic of a traumatized child who would rather control her own abandonment than risk the devastation of unexpected rejection. Rachel and David move the conversation to the more comfortable living room setting, where they can address Lily's desperate need for security and belonging with the full attention this moment deserves. "Lily, look at us," Rachel says firmly but lovingly. "We are not going to send you away. Not for stealing, not for lying, not for testing us, and not for anything else you might do to try to push us away." David adds with equal conviction, "We understand that you're scared and that you've learned to expect rejection from the adults in your life. But we made a commitment to be your family forever, and that means forever, even when you're scared, even when you test us, and even when you try to make us prove we don't really want you." Lily stares at them in disbelief, unable to process adults who don't respond to her manufactured crisis with the anger and rejection she has learned to expect. "But I lied to you," Lily protests weakly, still trying to find a reason why they should reject her according to the rules she has learned about conditional love and adult disappointment. "I made up a story to trick you. Good families don't keep liars." Rachel pulls Lily gently onto her lap for the first time since her arrival, and amazingly, Lily doesn't resist or maintain her usual rigid posture. "Sweetheart, you didn't lie to hurt us or to be malicious. You lied because you're scared and you wanted to control something that felt too big and scary to handle. That's not the same thing as being a bad person." For several long minutes, Lily sits stiffly in Rachel's arms, her body slowly beginning to relax as she processes this completely foreign experience of being held and comforted after confessing to wrongdoing instead of being punished or rejected. David moves closer and begins sharing something personal that he hopes will help Lily understand the perspective. "When I was about your age, my dad left our family. For years, I thought it was my fault, that if I had been a better son, he would have stayed. I spent a lot of time trying to be perfect so my mom wouldn't leave too." Lily looks up at him with new interest, recognizing a fellow survivor of abandonment trauma. "But I learned something important when Rachel and I got married. Real love doesn't go away when you make mistakes or have bad days or even when you test it on purpose. The kind of love families are supposed to have doesn't depend on your performance." This revelation that David understands her fears from personal experience creates the first genuine connection they've shared since her arrival. For the first time since arriving at the Thompson home, Lily begins to let her carefully constructed emotional walls show small cracks of vulnerability. "I don't know how to stop being scared," she admits quietly, her voice barely above a whisper. "Every time I start to feel safe, something bad happens and I have to leave again. I thought if I made you send me away for a good reason, it wouldn't hurt as much as waiting for you to decide I'm too much trouble." Rachel strokes Lily's hair gently, marveling at this breakthrough moment of honest communication. "Being scared makes perfect sense after everything you've been through. But you don't have to handle that fear all by yourself anymore. We're here to help you feel safe, and we're not going anywhere." The relief in Lily's small body is palpable as she finally allows herself to be held and comforted like the child she truly is underneath all her protective behaviors. Later that evening, as Lily takes her bath with the bathroom door slightly ajar for safety, Rachel walks past in the hallway and stops in amazement at what she hears drifting through the steam. For the first time since her arrival, Lily is making music, not conscious singing, but unconscious humming of a gentle melody while she plays with the bath bubbles. The sound is hauntingly beautiful and heartbreakingly innocent, revealing the musical soul that has been buried beneath layers of trauma and self-protection. Rachel stands frozen in the hallway, afraid to move or breathe too loudly for fear of breaking this magical moment where Lily's natural musical gift is emerging without her conscious awareness or permission. The melody is simple but pure, suggesting that despite everything she has endured, the musical connection to her parents still lives somewhere deep inside her healing heart. Rachel remains motionless in the hallway, tears streaming down her face as she recognizes the profound significance of what she's witnessing. This unconscious humming represents the first crack in the wall Lily has built between herself and the musical memories of her parents. The first sign that healing might be possible, not just emotionally, but also spiritually through the reconnection with the gift that once brought her such joy. The melody floating through the bathroom door sounds like a lullaby, possibly something Lily's mother used to sing to her, now emerging naturally as she feels safe enough to let her guard down completely for the first time in 2 years. Rachel understands instinctively that she must not interrupt or draw attention to this moment, allowing Lily's musical soul to reawaken at its own pace without pressure or expectations that might send her retreating back into emotional silence. During bedtime routine, the entire atmosphere between Rachel and Lily has shifted dramatically following their breakthrough day of honesty and acceptance. Lily allows Rachel to tuck her in properly for the first time, even accepting a gentle goodnight kiss on her forehead without flinching or maintaining rigid formality. "Mrs. Rachel," Lily says quietly as Rachel turns to leave, "I heard something beautiful in the bathroom earlier. Was that you humming?" Rachel's heart skips a beat as she realizes that Lily was aware of her own musical expression but doesn't yet feel safe enough to acknowledge it directly. "No, sweetheart, that wasn't me," Rachel responds gently, "but whatever you heard, it sounded lovely." Lily nods thoughtfully and snuggles deeper into her covers, finally beginning to claim ownership of her space and comfort. As Rachel reaches the doorway, Lily's voice stops her. Do you think it's okay if someone hums sometimes? Just quietly, so nobody really hears." The next morning brings a noticeably different energy to the Thompson household as Lily sits at the breakfast table with slightly more relaxed posture than her previous rigid formality. Rachel moves around the kitchen preparing pancakes, and in this moment of domestic normalcy, she decides to address what she heard the previous evening with careful gentleness. "Lily, I heard something beautiful coming from the bathroom last night," she says casually while flipping pancakes, not looking directly at the child to avoid making the moment feel like an interrogation or confrontation. "It sounded like someone was humming a really pretty melody." Lily's fork freezes halfway to her mouth, her body tensing slightly as she realizes her unconscious musical expression has been discovered, but Rachel's casual tone prevents the complete panic that such a revelation might have triggered just days earlier. Lily immediately shifts into defensive mode, her walls beginning to reconstruct themselves around the vulnerable musical part of her soul that she accidentally revealed. "I wasn't supposed to do that," she says quietly, her voice carrying shame and anxiety about this breach of her own emotional security protocols. "I didn't mean to make noise. I'll be more quiet." Rachel recognizes the signs of Lily retreating back into her protective shell and quickly moves to prevent a complete emotional shutdown. "Oh, sweetheart, you were making noise. You were making something beautiful," Rachel says warmly, sitting down at the table to make the conversation feel less formal and threatening. "There's absolutely nothing wrong with humming. I was just wondering if it was a song you remembered from somewhere special." This gentle approach creates space for Lily to share without feeling pressured or judged for accidentally revealing her musical connection. Lily stares down at her plate for several long moments, clearly wrestling with internal conflict between her desire to protect herself and a growing need to share the memories that music represents in her life. "Sometimes songs just happen in my head," she finally admits reluctantly, "but I try not to let them out because they make me remember things that hurt too much." Rachel nods with understanding, recognizing that this confession represents a significant step forward in Lily's emotional healing journey. "What kinds of things do the songs make you remember?" she asks gently, careful not to push too hard, but hoping to create an opening for Lily to process some of her grief. Would it help to talk about those memories, or would you rather keep them private for now? This offer of choice gives Lily control over how much she shares, reducing the pressure that might send her back into emotional hiding. After breakfast, they move to the more comfortable living room, where Lily finds herself gradually opening up about the musical memories she has kept locked away for 2 years. Mama used to sing to me every night before bed. She begins hesitantly, her voice soft with the wonder of sharing these precious recollections. She had the most beautiful voice, and she taught me how to sing harmony with her. Daddy would play his guitar, and we would make up songs together during long car rides. Rachel listens with complete attention, understanding that these memories represent both Lily's greatest treasure and her deepest source of pain. We had this game where one person would start a song and the others would have to guess what it was and join in. I was really good at that game. The pride in her voice when describing her musical abilities reveals how important this talent was to her identity as her parents' daughter. As Lily continues sharing, her descriptions become more vivid and emotional, suggesting that talking about these memories is beginning to feel safe rather than threatening. Daddy said I had perfect pitch, which means I could tell when notes were wrong or right without even trying. Mama said it was a special gift that not everyone has. Her voice grows stronger as she recalls her parents' pride in her abilities. We were going to sing together at the church Christmas program. I had been practicing Silent Night in 2-part harmony with Mama for weeks. Rachel realizes that music wasn't just entertainment for this family. It was their primary way of connecting, expressing love, and creating shared joy. It sounds like music was how your family showed love to each other. Rachel observes gently, helping Lily understand that her musical memories are expressions of the deep love her parents had for her. But now when I hear music, it just reminds me that they're gone and I'll never sing with them again, Lily says, her voice becoming heavy with grief that she has carried alone for too long. It feels like the music is calling to me from a place I can't reach, and it hurts so much I can't breathe. Rachel nods with deep empathy, beginning to understand the complexity of Lily's relationship with her musical gift. Music was how you connected with your parents' love, so now it feels like losing music means losing them all over again, Rachel reflects, helping Lily articulate feelings she hasn't had words for. No wonder it's so painful. Music wasn't just something you did together. It was the language your family used to say I love you. This understanding creates a bridge between Lily's past happiness and her current grief, acknowledging both the beauty and the pain that music represents. As the conversation deepens, Lily reveals an even more profound fear that has been driving her musical silence. What if I forget how their voices sounded? She whispers, expressing a terror that goes beyond missing her parents to potentially losing her memories of them entirely. Sometimes I try to remember Mama singing to me, but I can't hear it as clearly as I used to. What if the music dies inside me and I lose the last pieces of them I have left? Rachel's heart breaks as she realizes that Lily's avoidance of music isn't just about pain. It's about the fear that engaging with music might somehow diminish or replace her sacred memories of musical moments with her parents. Sweetheart, using your musical gift wouldn't erase your memories of singing with your parents. It might actually help you feel closer to them. Rachel suggests gently, planting seeds of possibility without pressure. Rachel draws from her own experiences with loss to help Lily understand that honoring memories doesn't require avoiding everything associated with them. When someone we love dies, we sometimes think that being happy or enjoying things they shared with us means we're forgetting them or moving on without them. But actually, using gifts they gave us and finding joy in things they love can be a way of keeping them close to our hearts. Lily listens intently, clearly struggling with this new way of thinking about her relationship with music and memory. Your parents gave you a beautiful musical gift, and they would want you to use it to bring joy to yourself and others. That doesn't mean forgetting them. It means carrying their love forward through the talent they helped you discover. This reframing begins to plant seeds that might eventually help Lily see music as connection rather than separation. As evening approaches and their conversation continues, Lily asks a question that reveals how much emotional ground they have covered in this single day of honest communication. Mrs. Rachel, do you think it would be okay if I tried to remember one of the songs Mama and I used to sing together? Just to see if I can still hear her voice in my memory? Rachel recognizes this as a monumental breakthrough. Lily is voluntarily considering engaging with musical memory instead of running from it. I think that would be a beautiful way to honor your mother and the love you shared. Rachel responds with gentle encouragement. Would you like me to stay with you while you try, or would you prefer to do it privately? This offer of support without intrusion gives Lily the safety net she needs to take this emotional risk while maintaining control over her healing process. As they prepare to end their emotional day, Lily reveals the deepest fear that has been driving all her self-protective behaviors since her parents' death. Mrs. Rachel, she says quietly, her voice trembling with vulnerability, I'm scared that if I let myself be happy again, something bad will happen and I'll lose everything all over again. What if being happy is dangerous? What if loving people and letting them love me back just sets me up to get hurt worse than before? This confession reveals that Lily's emotional withdrawal isn't just about missing her parents. It's about a fundamental fear that happiness and love inevitably lead to devastating loss. Rachel realizes they have reached the core of Lily's trauma. The belief that joy and attachment are threats to survival rather than sources of strength and healing that make life worth living despite its risks and uncertainties. Rachel takes a deep breath, recognizing that Lily has just shared her deepest, most fundamental fear, the belief that happiness inevitably leads to devastating loss. Lily, that's a very understandable fear after what you've been through, she says with infinite gentleness. When something terrible happens to people we love, it can feel like being happy or caring about anyone ever again is just setting ourselves up for more pain. She pauses, choosing her words carefully. But can I share something with you about my own experience with loss? Lily nods, her eyes wide with attention, hungry for any wisdom that might help her understand how to navigate the terrifying territory between isolation and connection. Rachel's willingness to be vulnerable about her own struggles creates a safe space for deeper, healing conversation. When I was 25, my mother died very suddenly from a heart attack. Rachel begins, her voice steady but emotional as she shares this painful memory. She was my best friend, and I was devastated. For a long time afterward, I was afraid to get close to anyone because I thought loving people just meant eventually losing them and feeling that horrible pain all over again. Lily's expression shows recognition. Here is an adult who understands the fear that has been controlling her life for 2 years. I almost didn't marry your dad because I was so scared that if I loved him completely, something would happen to take him away from me too. I thought staying emotionally distant would protect me from future heartbreak. This revelation that Rachel understands her fears from personal experience creates a profound connection between them. David quietly joins their conversation, sitting nearby as Rachel continues sharing her journey through grief and healing. But then I realized something important. Rachel continues. The pain of losing my mother was so terrible because the love we shared was so beautiful. The depth of my grief was actually proof of how much joy and meaning that relationship had brought to my life. Lily listens intently, beginning to consider this new perspective on the relationship between love and loss. If I had never loved my mother deeply, losing her wouldn't have hurt so much, but I also would have missed out on 25 years of incredible love, support, and happiness. David nods, adding gently, sometimes the things that can hurt us the most are also the things that make life worth living. David takes his turn sharing personal vulnerability to help Lily understand that her fears are normal and surmountable. I told you before that my father left when I was young, but I didn't tell you how that affected my ability to trust people, he says honestly. For years, I was convinced that anyone who claimed to love me would eventually decide I wasn't worth staying for and abandon me, just like he did. Lily's attention sharpens as she recognizes her own abandonment fears reflected in David's experience. I spent my teenage years pushing people away before they could reject me, And I almost pushed Rachel away too when we first started dating because I was so convinced she would eventually leave. This admission that David also struggled with preemptive rejection helps Lily see that her protective behaviors are understandable responses to trauma rather than character flaws. So how did you learn to stop being scared? Lily asks, her voice small but filled with genuine curiosity about the possibility of healing from fears that have controlled her life for so long. Rachel and David exchange a meaningful look before Rachel answers, very slowly, and with a lot of help from people who were patient with us while we figured it out. We learned that avoiding love doesn't actually protect you from pain. It just guarantees that you'll miss out on all the joy and connection that makes pain worthwhile. David adds, we discovered that the risk of getting hurt is the price we pay for the privilege of loving and being loved. And most of the time, the love we receive is so much stronger and more beautiful than the fear that tries to keep us from accepting it. These words plant seeds of hope in Lily's wounded heart. Lily processes this new information for several moments before asking the question that reveals how much she wants to believe in the possibility of healing. But what if I try to be happy and love you both, and then something bad happens anyway? What if I'm not strong enough to survive losing another family? Her voice trembles with the weight of this fundamental fear that has kept her emotionally isolated for 2 years. Rachel moves closer, speaking with gentle conviction. Then we'll face whatever happens together, as a family. But Lily, you're much stronger than you realize. You've already survived the worst thing that could happen, losing your parents, and you're still here, still fighting, still capable of love, even though you're scared. David adds, and we're not going anywhere. We've made a commitment to be your family no matter what life brings, good or bad. For the first time since arriving at the Thompson home, Lily allows herself to consider the possibility that she might deserve love and happiness without fearing immediate punishment or loss. I miss laughing, she admits quietly, revealing how much of her natural childhood joy has been suppressed by fear and grief. I miss feeling excited about things and looking forward to tomorrow instead of just trying to survive each day. Rachel's eyes fill with tears as she realizes that underneath all of Lily's protective behaviors lives a little girl who desperately wants to experience the normal joys of childhood, but has been afraid to allow herself such vulnerability. What kinds of things used to make you laugh before your parents died? Rachel asks gently, hoping to help Lily reconnect with memories of happiness that aren't solely tied to musical experiences. Lily's face begins to light up as she accesses memories of joy that have been buried under layers of protection and grief. Daddy used to make funny voices when he read me stories, and Mama would laugh so hard she would snort, which made me laugh even harder, she says, a genuine smile flickering across her features for the first time since her arrival. We had tickle fights on Saturday mornings, and they would let me help cook pancakes even though I always made a mess with the batter. David grins, recognizing opportunities for new family traditions. Well, we love pancakes around here, and I happen to be excellent at funny voices for story time. Lily looks at him with cautious interest rather than her usual polite distance, suggesting that she's beginning to consider the possibility of creating new happy memories without betraying her love for her deceased parents. As their conversation continues, Lily reaches a crucial emotional turning point that represents the beginning of real healing from her trauma and grief. I think maybe Mama and Daddy would want me to be happy again, she says tentatively, testing this new perspective that contradicts the guilt and fear she has carried for 2 years. They used to say that my smile was their favorite thing in the whole world. Maybe being sad all the time isn't the best way to honor their memory. Rachel nods enthusiastically. I think you're absolutely right. Parents want their children to be happy and loved, even after they're gone. Your joy would be a beautiful tribute to the love they gave you. This realization that happiness can honor rather than betray her parents' memory represents a fundamental shift in Lily's understanding of grief, love, and healing that opens the door to genuine recovery. As their transformative evening of honest conversation draws to a close, Lily asks a question that reveals how completely her perspective has shifted through this experience of unconditional acceptance and understanding. Looking directly at Rachel and David with eyes that hold hope instead of fear for the first time since her arrival, she asks quietly, would it be okay if I started calling you my real family? Not just the people I'm staying with, but my actual mama and daddy." The weight of this question hangs in the air like a prayer, representing Lily's first tentative step toward claiming her place in their hearts and allowing herself to believe in the possibility of permanent belonging. Rachel and David both feel their hearts overflow with joy and love as they realize that this traumatized little girl is finally ready to risk hoping for the family connection she has desperately wanted but been too afraid to claim. Rachel and David look at each other with tears of overwhelming joy before turning back to Lily with faces radiant with love and acceptance. "Lily, we would be honored if you called us your real family," Rachel says, her voice thick with emotion as she reaches out to embrace this precious child who has finally found the courage to claim her place in their hearts. "We've been hoping and praying that someday you would feel safe enough to let us be your mama and daddy for real, not just the people taking care of you temporarily." David nods enthusiastically, adding, "You've been our daughter from the moment we first saw your picture, sweetheart. We were just waiting for you to feel ready to accept that love." Lily's face transforms with wonder and relief as she realizes that her deepest longing for belonging has been mutual all along, and that her new parents have been patiently waiting for her healing rather than pressuring her to perform emotional readiness she didn't yet possess. For the first time since her parents' death 2 years ago, Lily allows herself to experience pure, uncomplicated joy without fear of punishment or loss. She launches herself into Rachel's arms with childlike abandon, finally permitting herself the luxury of being held and loved without reservation or self-protection. "Mama," she whispers experimentally, testing the word that has been forbidden in her vocabulary for so long. "Daddy," she says, looking at David with eyes that sparkle with life and hope instead of the careful distance she has maintained since arrival. The room fills with laughter and happy tears as this little family finally comes together emotionally after weeks of patient love, understanding, and healing. David joins their embrace, and for several minutes, they simply hold each other, celebrating the miracle of trust rebuilt and hearts open to love despite the risks that such vulnerability always entails. Over the following days, the Thompson household undergoes a remarkable transformation as Lily finally allows herself to be a normal 8-year-old child instead of a traumatized survivor in constant survival mode. She begins to play with the toys in her room, make messes at mealtimes without anxiety, and ask for things she wants instead of accepting whatever is offered with polite resignation. Rachel watches in amazement as Lily discovers the simple pleasure of jumping on her bed, something she would never have dared to do when she was afraid of being sent away for normal child behavior. David delights in Lily's newfound willingness to help him in his workshop, asking endless questions and getting sawdust in her hair without worrying about being too messy or troublesome. These small acts of normal childhood represent monumental progress for a little girl who has been afraid to claim space, make noise, or express desires for months. Breakfast time becomes a revelation of Lily's emerging personality as she finally feels safe enough to be playful and spontaneous. She giggles uncontrollably when David makes funny faces while flipping pancakes, and she accidentally spills syrup on the table without immediately panicking about being in trouble. "Oops," she says with a genuine child's laugh instead of the fearful apology that would have characterized her response just weeks earlier. Rachel marvels at the sound of authentic laughter filling their kitchen, the kind of joyful noise that makes a house feel like a real family home. "You know what?" Lily announces with newfound confidence. "I really like living here. I like being part of this family." These simple words represent a complete transformation from the terrified, emotionally distant child who arrived convinced that love was temporary and belonging was an impossible dream. As Lily plays on the swing set that David built for her, something magical begins to happen without her conscious awareness or permission. While pumping her legs to swing higher, she starts humming a gentle melody, not the fearful, secretive humming of the bathroom, but open, joyful musical expression that flows naturally from her renewed sense of safety and belonging. Rachel and David exchange amazed glances as they recognize that Lily's musical soul is beginning to reemerge now that she feels secure enough to let her guard down completely. The melody is sweet and innocent, possibly something she sang with her parents, but now it carries hope and healing rather than unbearable grief. This unconscious return to musical expression represents the profound emotional healing that has taken place through patient love, acceptance, and the rebuilding of trust in the safety of family relationships. That evening, Rachel decides to acknowledge Lily's musical expression with the same gentle approach that has characterized all their breakthrough conversations. "Lily, I heard you humming while you were swinging today," she says casually, watching for signs of the defensive panic that such observations previously triggered. But instead of fear or withdrawal, Lily shows curious interest in her own musical emergence. I didn't even realize I was doing it," she says with wonder rather than shame. "It felt like the music just came out by itself, because I was so happy." Rachel smiles with profound satisfaction, recognizing that music is beginning to represent joy and self-expression rather than loss and pain. That's exactly how music is supposed to work. It should come naturally when we're feeling good, like another way of expressing happiness that words can't capture. This conversation plants seeds for Lily's eventual reconnection with her musical gifts as sources of healing and connection rather than trauma triggers. Emboldened by Rachel's positive response to her musical expression, Lily begins to ask tentative questions about the possibility of engaging with music more intentionally. Would it be okay if I tried to remember some of the songs Mama and I used to sing together?" she asks carefully, testing whether this desire represents betrayal of her grief or a healthy step toward healing. "Sometimes I think I can almost hear her voice in my memory, and I wonder if singing those songs might help me feel close to her instead of just sad." Rachel recognizes this as a monumental breakthrough. Lily is voluntarily considering music as a bridge to her parents rather than a barrier to her healing. "I think that would be a beautiful way to honor your mother's memory and the musical gifts she helped you discover," Rachel responds with warm encouragement. "Music was how your family expressed love, so continuing to make music could be a way of carrying that love forward." Sensing that Lily might be ready for the next step in her musical healing journey, Rachel makes a careful suggestion that could help bridge the gap between Lily's past and future musical expression. There are people who use music to help children heal from sadness and trauma. It's called music therapy, and it might be a safe way for you to explore your musical feelings with someone who understands how music can both hurt and heal. Lily considers this idea with serious attention, clearly intrigued by the possibility of professional guidance through her complex relationship with music and memory. "Would that person understand about missing my parents when I hear music?" she asks hopefully. "And would they help me figure out how to sing again without feeling like I'm forgetting Mama and Daddy?" Rachel nods with conviction. "Yes, sweetheart. That's exactly what music therapists do. They help people find ways to use music for healing and connection instead of just pain and loss." After several minutes of thoughtful consideration, Lily makes a decision that represents the culmination of weeks of emotional healing and growing trust in her new family's unconditional support. "I think I would like to try music therapy," she says with quiet determination. "And maybe I could try singing just a little bit, just to see what happens." David joins their conversation, adding his enthusiastic support. "We'll be right there with you every step of the way, sweetheart. You don't have to do anything that feels scary or wrong, but we're so proud of you for being brave enough to try." Lily's face glows with a mixture of excitement and nervousness as she contemplates this significant step toward reclaiming the musical part of herself that has been buried under trauma and fear. "I discovered something today when I was humming on the swings," she says thoughtfully. "The music didn't make me sad. It made me feel connected to something beautiful." As their conversation about music therapy continues, Lily surprises both Rachel and David with a confession that reveals how completely her perspective on music has transformed through their patient love and acceptance. You know what I really want to do someday? She says with growing excitement and confidence. I want to sing at church like Mama and I were going to do before the accident. Not because I have to, but because I want to share the beautiful music that lives inside me with other people who might need to hear something hopeful. Rachel and David exchange amazed looks, recognizing that this desire to share her musical gift represents complete healing from the shame, fear, and isolation that characterize her arrival in their home. But I'm a little scared, Lily admits with the kind of honest vulnerability that has become possible through unconditional love and acceptance. What if I'm not good enough? What if I get up there and disappoint everyone? Her willingness to express both excitement and fear shows how much she has grown in her ability to trust her family with her deepest emotions and dreams. The morning of the church talent show arrives with a mixture of excitement and nervous energy as the Thompson family sits together in the front pew of their local church sanctuary. Lily wears a simple but pretty blue dress that Rachel helped her choose, and her hair is styled with care for this momentous occasion. I can't stop my hands from shaking, Lily whispers to Rachel, her voice trembling with the kind of stage fright that every performer experiences before sharing something deeply personal with an audience. What if I forget the words? What if my voice cracks? What if everyone thinks I'm not good enough to be singing in church? Rachel takes Lily's small, cold hands in her own warm ones, speaking with the gentle confidence that has guided Lily through every step of her healing journey. Sweetheart, you're not performing to impress anyone or prove that you're good enough. You're sharing a gift that comes from your heart, and that's always beautiful regardless of whether it's technically perfect. Pastor James approaches their pew with a warm smile, recognizing how significant this moment is for Lily's continued healing and integration into their church family community. How are you feeling, Lily? He asks gently. Crouching down to her, I level with the kind of pastoral warmth that has made him beloved by children throughout the congregation. I'm nervous, but excited, Lily admits honestly, her ability to express complex emotions representing tremendous growth from the shut-down child who arrived months ago. This is the first time I've sung in front of people since my first parents died, and I want to make them proud of me. Pastor James nods with understanding. I'm sure they would be incredibly proud of the brave, loving young woman you're becoming. And remember, this congregation is your family too. We're all here to support you and celebrate the beautiful gift you're sharing with us today. As Lily walks slowly to the microphone stand at the front of the sanctuary, the entire congregation falls silent with respectful attention, many of them aware of her tragic backstory and the significance of this moment for her healing journey. She looks small standing at the adult-sized microphone, but her posture shows determination rather than fear as she adjusts the stand to her height and looks out at the sea of friendly, encouraging faces. Hi, everyone, she says simply, her voice clear despite her nervousness. I'm Lily Thompson, and I want to sing a song about finding your real family and feeling safe enough to be happy again. The congregation responds with gentle smiles and nods of encouragement, creating an atmosphere of love and acceptance that wraps around this brave little girl like a warm embrace. She takes a deep breath, connecting with the emotional truth of the simple song she has chosen about love, family, and finding home after being lost. Lily begins to sing with a voice that is pure, sweet, and entirely authentic. Not the polished performance of a professional child singer, but the heartfelt expression of a little girl who has found her way back to joy and belonging after tremendous loss and trauma. Her song choice, a simple contemporary piece about family love and belonging, resonates deeply with everyone present as they witness this child's courage in sharing something so personal and meaningful. Her voice wavers slightly on the higher notes, and she stumbles over one word in the second verse. But these imperfections only make her performance more touching and genuine. The congregation listens in reverent silence, many wiping away tears as they recognize the profound healing and growth that this moment represents not just for Lily, but for the entire church community that has prayed for and supported this precious child's journey toward wholeness. The simple melody fills the sanctuary with hope and love. From their front row seats, Rachel and David watched their daughter with hearts overflowing with pride, love, and amazement at how far she has come from the terrified, emotionally shut-down child who arrived in their home just months ago. Rachel wipes away tears of joy as she listens to Lily sing about finding a family that loves her unconditionally, understanding that these words represent Lily's own testimony of healing and restoration. David struggles to maintain his composure as he realizes that this brave little girl is not just singing a song, but declaring to the world that she has found her place, her voice, and her courage to hope and love again despite the risks such vulnerability always entails. The transformation is nothing short of miraculous. From a child who couldn't bear to hear music to one who is confidently sharing her musical gift with an entire congregation. They exchange looks of pure parental pride and gratitude. As Lily approaches the final chorus of her song, the congregation shows their support through gentle smiles, nods of encouragement, and the kind of loving attention that makes her feel celebrated rather than judged. Her voice grows stronger and more confident as she senses the warmth and acceptance surrounding her, no longer worried about technical perfection, but focused on sharing the love and joy that fills her healed heart. The sanctuary is filled with an atmosphere of worship and community that transcends individual performance and becomes collective celebration of healing, hope, and the power of unconditional love to restore broken hearts. Lily's face lights up with wonder and joy as she realizes that she is not alone on this stage, but surrounded by people who love her and want to lift her up rather than criticize her efforts. This moment represents the complete restoration of her confidence and her ability to share her gifts without fear. As Lily completes the final notes of her song, the sanctuary erupts in enthusiastic applause that goes far beyond polite appreciation and becomes genuine celebration of this child's extraordinary courage and growth. People rise to their feet in a standing ovation that acknowledges not just her musical performance, but her journey from trauma to healing, from fear to faith, and from isolation to belonging. Lily's face glows with surprise and delight at the overwhelming positive response, her earlier fears about not being good enough completely dispelled by this outpouring of love and acceptance from her church family. She curtsies with childlike grace, then looks directly at Rachel and David with eyes that sparkle with accomplishment and joy. The applause continues for several long moments, creating a memory that will remain with Lily forever as proof that she is valued, loved, and celebrated exactly as she is, imperfections and all. The congregation's response shows they understand they've witnessed something truly special. Lily practically runs down the aisle toward Rachel and David, who meet her halfway with arms wide open and faces radiant with pride and love. "I did it," she exclaims breathlessly as she launches herself into their embrace. "I sang in front of everyone, and it wasn't scary at all. Well, maybe a little scary at first, but then it felt like flying." Rachel holds her daughter tightly, overwhelmed with gratitude for the privilege of witnessing this moment of triumph and healing. "We are so incredibly proud of you," she whispers into Lily's hair, "not just for singing beautifully, but for being brave enough to share your heart with all of us." David adds his own enthusiastic praise. "You were absolutely amazing up there, sweetheart. Your first parents would be so proud to see the confident, loving young woman you're becoming." The three of them stand together in the church aisle, embracing and celebrating this milestone moment that represents the completion of Lily's journey from brokenness to wholeness. As they walk to their car in the church parking lot, Lily spontaneously takes both Rachel's and David's hands, swinging between them with the carefree joy of a child who has finally learned to trust in love and security. "Mama, Daddy, can we have pancakes when we get home?" she asks naturally, the parental titles flowing effortlessly from her lips without self-consciousness or fear. "I want to celebrate my first time singing in church, and pancakes are the best celebration food ever." Rachel and David exchange looks of pure happiness, recognizing that this casual use of "mama" and "daddy" represents the final piece of Lily's emotional healing. She has truly claimed her place in their family, and accepted their love as permanent and unconditional. The drive home is filled with excited chatter about the performance, future singing opportunities, and plans for their celebratory pancake breakfast. Lily hums quietly in the back seat, the same melody she just performed, but now it carries only joy and gratitude instead of pain and fear. 6 months later, their home is filled with the sounds of laughter, music, and normal family chaos as Lily thrives in the security of unconditional love, continuing to use her musical gifts to bring joy to others while honoring the memory of her first parents through a life lived with courage and hope. She sings naturally while helping with breakfast, performs in school programs with confidence, and even teaches younger children simple songs at church, having transformed from a traumatized child who couldn't bear to hear music into a young girl who uses her voice to heal and inspire others. The Thompson household echoes with the beautiful noise of a real family. Arguments over chores, homework struggles, movie nights with popcorn, and the constant background melody of Lily's contented humming as she goes about her daily activities. What an incredible journey of healing and love this has been. Where are you watching from today? Have you ever witnessed a moment of breakthrough like this in your own life? Drop a comment below sharing your thoughts on this beautiful story of family, faith, and music's power to heal hearts. Don't forget to hit that like button if this story touched your heart, and subscribe for more incredible tales that prove love truly conquers all.